Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
Mikey, D used to enter evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be free of Jeff the Killer for another year.
Are you sure?
Yes, we're not doing any more killers, at least for the immediate future, that have any relation to Jeff the Killer.
So every story after this, no monster will kill anyone. This is a
well, I mean, we're gonna have monsters that kill people. We're just not gonna have like, as far as I know. Notice how I'm backpedaling.
Yeah,
we're not gonna. As far as I'm aware, I have no like angsty teen killers in the queue.
Okay.
For the time being. So.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I might maybe next Christmas time I might try and wrangle Captain Solanum, and we'll do the troll pasta, the origin of Laughing Jack. But that's neither here nor there. It's a new year. It's a new year. About a month and a half in.
Shut up.
Anyway, yeah.
They don't know that.
Anyway, we're doing a Silver Flame. Yeah, we're doing a creepypasta called A Silver Flame. It's by our favorite meme lord, Icydice.
Hell yeah.
You can check out A Silver Flame on creepypasta.wiki. It was originally an entry for Humboldt's werewolf contest. Humboldt being another user on the creepypasta wiki, and also I think one of the admins maybe. So they sometimes put out contests for people to write creepypastas about things. And before we dive into the rundown, let's give our initial recommendations. I'm going to recommend this one.
Also going to recommend this one.
I will also recommend this one.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
We'll see if our discussion changes that.
Yeah.
Makes some of us hate it by the end of it.
We shall see. So let's dive into the rundown then, shall we?
As Icydice is listening to this, it's like, oh
god. I mean, they probably are listening to this at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, they've listened to all the episodes we've done of their creepypastas based off the emails. Hi, Icydice. We really appreciate your emails and your feedback on the show. So anyway, yeah, diving to the rundown. Nair, because we never get a name.
That's fine.
Is awakened to a strange sound, one of footsteps and nails dragging across the outside walls of their home. They look out the window, but see nothing but darkness and the forest. They dismiss it and turn to go back to sleep, but then they hear it again. It's at this point, despite mental warnings and instincts, that Nair gets a flashlight and clothes on to brave the dark, rainy night to see what or where the source of the noise is. They go out into the now creepy woods at the edge of their property, and as they delve deeper within, the sound of nature begins to mute, save for the sound of a man crying, almost unnaturally even. Trekking a bit deeper in, things become too much as even the crying stops abruptly, and Nair decides to turn around and make his way back home. But as he gets to the door, that is when there is a large thumping sound, or a loud thumping sound, heard a ways off by the tree line. Nair promptly locks themselves inside their house, and again looks out the window where they see a bearded man at the tree line, who comes out of the woods and just sits in Nair's lawn. Nair grabs a knife and his cell phone and begins staring at the man, who is staring back at him as well. And it appears that Nair is taken by some kind of trance from the man's silver, fiery eyes. Nair falls ill to the ground and then gets back up a short time later, just in time to see the man right there, pressed against the window glass. Nair manages to call the cops, but the stare of the man is mesmerizing, and Nair drops the call and unlocks the door of the house for the man to enter. They then both sit cross-legged on the floor, and the man transforms into a wolf creature as Nair stares silent and still within the trance. It isn't until Nair reads the lips of the wolf man and understands what it has been soundlessly saying that he snaps out of his daze. Lycanthrope over and over again. The creature pins Nair and reveals that instead of teeth in its mouth, with which to tear Nair apart, instead there is a black forked tongue that it proceeds to shove down Nair's throat, coating his mouth in deeper with black fluid and nearly choking Nair out. It proceeds to release Nair from this action, but then repeats the attack multiple times until as Nair is helpless against it, until the creature leaves, with police arriving sometime later. The police find Nair in a state in the corner of his home, with black liquid staining his mouth, tears down his face, and his eyes radiating that same silver as the creature's eyes. Finn.
And he was also saying lycanthrope.
Oh yes, and he was also constantly murmuring lycanthrope, like the bearded man and slash creature. So, yeah, Finn.
He was more of a punch creature than a slash creature. He didn't slash him.
I hate you.
You should.
All right. So with that, we shall move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a couple. The man stopped suddenly and shifted my body towards the moon, staring at it seemingly in awe. Sorry, I think that's supposed to read, and shifted his body toward the moon. Suddenly he's behind Nair, just like,
yeah,
just shifts his body.
Or if this was like post trance, maybe he like caused him to turn like through the trance, but this is pre-trance though now.
Yeah. Next one up. This sudden noise startled me out of his daze. I think it should be out of my daze. So I suppose it still could be his daze, since the effect stems from the bearded man outside. But I think it's better if it were my in this case. Like, that's just a personal opinion. It also seemed like the last Grammar Inquisition sentence that I read, and then this one, were like basically they had to swap they accidentally swapped the wrong word in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you guys agree with that? Like, should it be my days or his days? Or happy days?
Yeah, happy days for sure.
Hey, you got the joke.
But yeah, in my days, because he was dazed at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's what I assumed. Okay.
Perhaps the transformation put him into a daze as well, but it wasn't. The only daze was the daze that he was dazing into him being dazed from looking at him.
Days not here, man.
Did I say daze more until I ruined the
Unless it's trying to say that his days, aka the days that he is projecting onto me. So it's technically his days, but
his
Come on, it's
gaze
Nair's
is causing
daze.
a daze.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
On this most harrowing of days.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Next one I have here. I could have sworn the man's eyes flickered like a candle, the wick desperately clinging to what few embers remained. So this might just be like a personal preference or maybe even a nitpick, but I feel like it should have been the man's eyes flickered like candles. So like add plural there to the candle. Like that's how I would have, like, personally, that's how I would have written that, not his eyes or the man's eyes flickered like a candle.
well, but
because,
it's
like,
the same candle in both eyes.
Well, yeah, but that's still two sets of the same candle, so therefore it's plural.
It's not. You're right and wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know it's not like I know it's not like literal, like it's figuratively, like it's metaphorical, like the candle.
Mhm.
But I still feel like because there's two sets of things that are shimmering like that, it still should be plural for the example
It's referring to a singular item. They are flickering like a candle.
Fair.
Like if a spider with like 100 eyes, some weird spider creature with 100 eyes, all the eyes were flickering, you could say that all of the eyes are flickering like a candle.
True. And again, that's like
it doesn't there doesn't have to be an equal amount of candles to mirror the amount of eyes.
Again, I'm just saying like that's how I would have like written it. Like I would have with the plural versus the singular, but I don't actually think that it is necessarily a typo as is. I just like when I was reading that, it was noteworthy. Like I don't know if I would have written it that way, but so
yep, fair.
Again, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. So, but I'll move on to my last one. I was pale as the winter snow, with tear stains engraved in my cheek face. I don't think you need face there at the end. I think you could have just like gone with like engraved into my cheeks.
You don't know what happened during his haze days. Like, for all I know, this weird transformation.
He became butt cheek face.
No, like the goop that's like all over his face and stuff is like morphing his skin and creating like another face in his cheek. Then he would have a cheek.
That's true, but it's not in the story. So
so you're right.
Yeah.
Cheek or face.
Yeah.
Don't need both.
Yeah, exactly. You can go with like face. Not just like you said, separate them. You got to keep them separated.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the end of my grammar inquisition. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
It's funny that you went with that musical cue because in my head I was like, separation, no blending.
Well, yeah, because you're the edgelord of our group.
Am I?
You're closer to the one. You're closer to the one edgelord.
How dare you? I don't like that.
Yeah, he's one step closer to the edgelord.
Yeah. You've been friends longer with our resident edgelord, so.
Yeah, but I distance myself from him as much as possible. I barely talk to him anymore. I just make fun of him all the time.
Wow.
Why should I care? Life is endless struggle. It's like going full edgelord.
He's getting close to the edge there.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's it for my grammar inquisition. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil. Take it away.
Well, you got the one that I found, and then I have a conjunction junction, which is mostly a knit story.
All right. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It was then, as I jolted upright in bed, that I realized what had awoken me. It was upon reaching the rear of my home that I heard a peculiar sound from the wooded area behind me. It took every ounce of willpower I had to ignore it. And in the stillness of the night, my ears picked up a very familiar noise. It was a voice of a very raspy, sickly one, indeed. It was the weeping that had drawn me out of my home in the first place. It was that of terror and pain, yet I could have sworn I heard slight giggles amidst the crying. It dragged out even further, and its voice became scratchy and stressed. It wrapped its arm around the oak, resting its hand on a branch. It was then, by the light of the flashlight and the moon, that it was revealed. It was a strange feeling, one that could almost be described as a magnet attracting me, convincing me to unlock the door and walk out. And then there was silence and stillness. And then another. It was then that he howled. It was in the house. Its chest heaved with each breath. Its lips moved the same way they had when the man was outside. It needed to feed. It sniffed the surrounding air with its large nose. Its nostrils were the size of golf balls. It positioned itself in front of me and stuck its tongue out like a dog yearning for a treat. It mounted its strong leg on top of me, preventing me from moving. It lifted its foot and smashed it into my side, rupturing my ribs. It had no teeth. It approached my mouth, attempting to enter. It was covered in a thick black substance that appeared to be entering my mouth. It was then the wolf ripped its tongue out of my throat and stepped backwards. It carried on for what felt like hours, and truth be told, I don't remember when it stopped. It wasn't long after that a policeman entered the home, probably to follow up on my call from earlier. Finn.
Okay, so most of the It Story stuff I can agree with, like on your for the sake of the bit and stuff like that.
Yep.
However, the one that always bugs me, like the one that bugged me when I read the story, I saw it and I was like, Mikey's gonna comment about this, and I'm gonna have to be prepared for this because I don't agree with this one being necessarily in the It Story. Aside from the fact that it does start technically with an It, I think this one does. This sentence that does start with an It actually deserves to have the It there. It took every ounce of willpower I had to ignore it.
Okay.
I still feel that one should have the It there because, like, how else do you write that? Like, that's something that, it took every ounce of gumption or willpower. Like, that's a common thing that people say all the time.
I had to use every ounce of gumption or something like that. If
I guess
front it actually is a problem, but there are other ways. But I agree, using it in that form doesn't really seem like a problem.
Yeah. And if you don't want to have this like two It's in the same sentence, which I do acknowledge there's an It at the very end of that sentence, maybe to ignore the sound or the sensation.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's just something that I wanted to like bring up because I'm willing to give the It Stories and conjunction junctions that you do a pass most of the time, but in this case, I want to fight it a little bit.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Also, with the way that It Story went, the whole start of it is like trying to figure out what it is, and then it was just a feeling. Like the whole reason he was doing everything. Wow, you're very bard.
apparently 2023 is the year of the bard.
Yeah, it seems like it. Well, it's because it's the year of the rabbit, so it's your year. So
that's true. Yeah,
all of your Eunice is coming out more. Anyways,
yes.
The whole start of it kind of felt like it was just a feeling, is what he said, and it wasn't really described what the feature was until it's saying like it was like transforming in front of him, and then it entered his mouth, but it didn't say his tongue entered his mouth. It did.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
like
like
liquid,
it's like a tiny little wolf that like
Uh-huh.
climbed down his throat.
I mean, I've seen in werewolf movies, I've seen like werewolves like burst out of a person's mouth, but I've never seen one enter somebody's mouth.
Yeah. Very interesting visual.
Mm-hmm. Also, I just this is superfluous to the It Story, but like you did kind of bring it up with like the tongue going down its throat and stuff like that, being shoved down its throat. I was getting some like real like Wicked City vibes, like the tentacle rape scene from Wicked City.
I mean, this has
during
nothing to
the
do with
story.
Grammar, but
It has nothing to do with grammar. I have to bring it up because it was in the It Story as described, and it was like, ugh. It's also in the story. I was just like, ugh.
Yes. But we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And for those unaware, like he does these strings of sentences to highlight all the sentences in a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Yes. And the emphasis is probably shouldn't.
Yeah, there's always exceptions.
Yeah. All right. Then on to Gamer.
My go. Okay.
Every time you say that, I just think of Amigo from Lovecraft.
That's fine.
Like you're just in your room and you just like look at and you just see like a Migo in the corner of your room. It's like Migo.
Lycanthrope.
Oh
But
God.
for me, it's Myga.
Oh God. So you become a giant, creepy, weird, like crustacean fungus brain monster.
Who says I'm not already?
Whoa.
I just put on a glamour every time I go out.
Or the gamer in yellow is just like a flesh puppet that the Mygo use.
Yeah.
They do worship the he who should not be named sometimes.
Well, there you go.
Ha. We're
Not
building a
saying
deep
that
lore
I
in the
am,
mythos.
but I'm not saying I'm not.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Yes.
Annoyed, I laid my head down once more, letting my eyes fall. This is in regards to him, like in bed. Like,
Yeah.
his eyes like fall out of his head. Is
Yeah,
he
I
a
was-
zombie?
It's just like
Yeah. That's a long day of being a zombie. I'm just gonna relax, lay down, and just completely relax. He just lays down, his eyes fall out, his limbs are just laying everywhere, random locations. His tongue like falls out of his mouth.
basically completely just like disassembles his
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah, basically, yeah. All of his tendons that are holding all of his like bones together all loosened, so his arms and legs are really long.
It's funny that you bring this up because I've been like watching a lot of like Fallout lore, and like I was listening to like one about ghouls and how they just like fall apart sometimes, and then they can just like rebuild, like put themselves back together with enough radiation.
No, for real?
Yeah, apparently ghouls do fall apart, but if they put like even like their head could come off, but if somebody puts their head back on their body and like administer like exposes them to enough radiation, the body will like reattach to the head.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way, back to the sentence. The way to fix that from being weird is just maybe have it letting my eyelids fall
Yeah.
instead of letting my eyes fall.
Yeah.
That's in regards to him wanting to go back to sleep, right?
Yeah.
I jerked around in frustration and shuffled the dresser where a thick black flashlight sat. I grabbed it firmly, its handle cold as ice, despite the warmth and comfort of the room. So I know that this is an exaggeration, but reading that and jokingly imagining that the flashlight was literally icy, it did put my mind in a mode to like further take exaggerations literally as well, because it kind of comes up later as well. Because cold as ice is pretty extreme for this sort of situation. Like if it was that cold, he should be questioning it. Like, was someone just outside using this and they just put it back? That's what woke me up, you know?
That's an option. It is also, given how flowery the story is, it could just be metaphorical.
It's only flowery in certain locations, though. This one felt weird.
I
It
don't
felt
know.
out of place. That's why I brought it up.
Okay, fair.
Like my correction would
Craption?
be, yeah, I said craption. What about it? My correction would be its handle cool to the touch
Yeah.
instead of cold as ice, which is a bit extreme, even though
Yeah.
it's not meant to be an extreme coldness.
Mhm.
But I'll move on to my next craption. Upon reaching the rear of my home, that I heard a peculiar sound from the wooded area behind me. Does that not have a comma in it? Is this another? Hang on, let me find this. Was upon. It was upon reaching the rear of my house that I heard a peculiar sound from the wooded area behind me. No, that's fine. For some reason, I thought that had to be a comma. Anyways, that happened. The sound was strange, yet surprisingly human. I stood frozen in attention, facing the woods. The shrill cries of what sounded like a man screaming for his life came from the intimidating outline of the enormous trees in the distance. They rocked gently in the wind and beckoned me to come closer, blah, 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 blah. So, in regards to the distance away of the trees, how did you two view it right away from the get-go, without further context?
They were across a property, or like across a yard. So like, and like a large yard.
Because, yeah, for me, when I first imagined it... Sorry, Mikey, did you have a different imagination? I don't know why. I was ignored. How'd you feel?
Oh, there's still like at least a driveway before it gets to forest.
Because yeah, for me,
Yeah,
when
that's
it
true,
said
'cause
like
he's not-
in the distance away, I imagine that at first. Well, at first I imagined it exactly like my house because behind my house is a forest and trees.
Yeah.
So that's that. Although I really focused in the distance, and I'm like, that feels like it's far
It's-
away.
I mean, it's yes and no. Like it is a viable use of that word, but I understand your like how you would fixate on it, and like that's really far away. Like
Yeah, it's over
like
there.
yeah,
It's in the distance. It's like a 5-minute walk away.
Yeah, like like it. That's the problem. Is it's a very vague word descriptor. Like
And it's referring to the
because
trees as
Yeah.
silhouettes, like there's no detail.
well,
So
they're
that's
silhouettes
another.
because it's dark and nighttime. So
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
why they're silhouettes. So
that's
yeah,
fair. But either way, the in the distance part really got me.
fair.
So for a
Mhm.
while, I was imagining it like basically
farm
there's
field?
an entire farm field, yeah, in between
Yeah.
him and the trees.
Like I'll be honest, that's honestly like what I thought was. I thought this guy was like his prop. Like I figured like I pictured a yard, but I pictured a large yard, like a farm yard, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
hmm
Yeah.
And yeah, if it is that far away, which it isn't, but if it was that far away, maybe it'd be a little bit of a red flag if he's able to hear a scream from that far away in the
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah, and as the trees are like bowing and like in the wind, so like they're causing noises and stuff. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
However, many paragraphs later, I got this quote of with a soft click, the flashlight gripped firmly in my hand, shown its bright flash. With a soft click, the flashlight gripped firmly in my hand, shown. Wow, I'm reading these words really weird. With a soft click, the flashlight gripped firmly in my hand, shone its bright fluorescent light, illuminating the darkness. That's when I saw it. A figure, tall, dark, stood next to a tree. So,
Mhm.
when I read that, I'm like, damn it. Okay. So the forest is like 20 or 30 feet behind his house. Best.
Yeah,
In the
Mhm.
distance, my ass.
I also have
Yep.
an issue with that paragraph, but it's in my actual thoughts
hmm
because he's seeing that through his window
Yeah, that's how close
at
the
night.
forest is. It's not way over there. It's right there.
I also kind of wish that like it had said something along the lines of like putting the flashlight directly on the glass of the window, because otherwise you can't do that through a window at night. Like very seldom can you see through a window if you're shining a light anywhere aside from like right on the glass.
Yeah, a little
Through-
elaboration that he pressed it up against the glass. That might work.
Yeah, yeah.
But either
Because
way,
otherwise
the
he's
forest
getting
is
shut. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, because otherwise the glass is just going to reflect the light, and he's not going to be able to see through the glass. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my issue with that sentence. So
That's true. But also, in my opinion, the distance needs some clarification up front. Like, for example, remove the words in the distance and just make it behind my house,
yeah,
because it's vague enough that it doesn't really matter the distance, or it sounds like it's right there because it's just behind my house. It's right there.
yeah, that's fair.
And then just so I don't bring all this stuff up later, do you have a note on him going into the woods?
I actually don't.
Okay, well, I'll bring it up now. Just in regards to him going, to me, I'd either call the cops if I was sure there was a scream, or ignore it if I was thinking I was imagining it. I would not investigate. But
Yeah,
to the story's
yeah.
credit, it does say in the next paragraph that the character realizes that this is a bad idea,
Yeah,
so he's aware of it. And of course, we'd have no story if he didn't investigate. So
yeah. It's
I'm not
less
actually holding it against the story at all.
yeah, it's less Derpland and more just like the folly of the character. Like it's just like they realize they've made a horrible mistake, but like they actually realize that they're not
They're not blissfully ignorant about what's going on.
they're not blissfully stupid like in Derpland.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, upon entering the forest, there's this quote: I felt the sensation of rain cease as my body went numb. Like, literally numb? Like, also, why would you go numb? Like, at this point, I'm like, was it a half an hour walk in the freezing rain to get to the forest? No, the forest is right behind your house.
Yeah,
Like, I want to offer a correction here, but I also don't get what they're trying to get across here.
the numbness is like again, it's the use of the word, and maybe you're like hyperfixating on like the meaning of the word. In this, I think it's supposed to mean like he's becoming like dulled to like the cold and wet because he's been in the rain and stuff going through the woods. That's kind of what I got from it, was that he was numb from like he no longer like he was able to ignore the cold and wet of the rain and that night.
Isn't this right when he got in the forest though? I thought the rain ceased from his body because he literally entered the forest line, so he's not being rained on anymore.
I mean, the rain's still going to come down on you. It's just not going to come down on you as hard.
Yeah, but I thought that's where this sensation is coming from him transferring from outside to inside.
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Slowly and steadily, I approached, gathering more and more distance from my home, getting closer to the underbrush. I felt the sensation of rain cease as my body went numb. Finally, I found myself on the outskirts of the woods. Okay, so it is actually slightly before he gets in.
Okay, so yeah, he had become basically not numb is, again, it's too strong a word, I think, in this point. But it's like, again, the character, I still think that the story is very flowery, so like that could be why they're using such strong words for things,
I suppose.
But yeah, like it's a word that like they're using that word to like they've become numb to the cold and rain at that point. So
also, because of the whole like distance shenanigans that went on in my brain at the start, when it's saying like gathering more and more distance from my home, getting closer to the underbrush, it sounds like it's an ordeal that he's going on.
It sounds like it is
like in his backyard.
It might in fact be about a farmer's field.
Yeah, I don't think it is though. Unless he has an industrial strength flashlight that can show that far away, and he also has
it's a giant black. I immediately thought it was a maglite, like one of those really big, powerful ones.
Oh, it is. It's something you can bludgeon a man to death, but still, it's not going to go 500 feet away, and you're not going to be able to see the creature sitting down in your backyard 500 feet away.
Oh, you mean it's not an Alan Wake a flashlight?
Sure.
Where you can just like create, like you can focus the beam like with your mind.
He doesn't manually do it, does he?
No, he doesn't. You just like ludonarratively, you hold the trigger down to like focus the beam, but there's nothing the character does otherwise. So it's just like he's like mentally like commanding the light to be stronger.
Or just it's a flashlight where like you click the button and that's fine, but if you click it in more, it like tightens the beam.
If that's what he's doing, it's not really shown in the animation.
Or it like click up once for that, and then click up again, and the front goes and tightens up.
Yeah. If he actually like if the animation showed him like twisting the
end of it,
front of the end of it, yeah, like where the light was to like focus the beam, I would maybe give it that. But no, it's like legitimate, like it's a superpower.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that would suck if that would be your superpower.
Hey, not if
finally get magic, and that's the one thing you can do.
Only if your nemesis isn't a shadow monster from beyond time and space.
Yes,
that feeds off of creativity. Mm-hmm. That's the only issue. Like it was appropriate. It's an appropriate superpower to the situation. Also, not this story.
It's not. But yeah, he really like won the lottery in regards to that, right? This one niche.
Kind of lucked out, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I'll move on.
Yes.
I shuddered as the cry overcame the sound of the wind and was all I could hear. So the way that I read this, it was starting like a list, basically, like because of the and. Because it's like he was gonna say the sound of the cry overcame the sound of the wind and this and that because it's had an and in there. So it like made me backpedal a half step, be like, oh no, that's not what's going on.
Okay.
So the way that I would get around that is just say, I shuddered as the cry overcame the sound of the wind, becoming all I could hear.
Yeah. And also in that situation, at that point, your ears are probably bleeding, or like you're definitely going to be damaging your eardrums, because like that is a cacophonous shrill cry.
Yes, it is.
If it's bleeding, if it's overshadowing the wind and stuff. So
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a quiet wind, though, that's very easy to do.
I
I
mean,
could talk
it was
and
strong.
it's louder than the wind.
It was a strong enough wind that the trees are bowing and like rocking. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's not a gentle wind.
I
That's not a
suppose.
gentle breeze.
But at that point, he's way in the middle of the forest, though. Are they still
He'd still
rocking around him in there?
you'd still hear it because it's above you at that point. So you'd hear like the rocking and knocking of that. Like and like wind does go through trees. Like it scatters when it's in a forest, but you do still feel it in forests.
Yeah, I suppose.
We're not even out of the grammar position.
We're almost there. It's fine. Okay, this is after he gets out of the forest. I walked into the driveway, gravel crunching beneath my feet, ascending the front patio steps. The wood underneath creaked ever so softly. I reached my hand out and grasped the cold doorknob. That's when I heard a loud thump from far behind me. Hustling inside, I slammed the door shut with haste. I locked the door and peered outside of my window towards the wood, which appeared far more menacing than they had before. So, to me, this makes it sound like the forest in question is the forest in front of his house. Meanwhile, the one he went into was the one behind his house. It says,
I
holding the
mean,
front doorknob, hearing the loud thump behind him, which is the front of the house, because he's at the front of the house holding the front door. So behind him is in front of the house.
yeah, like maybe he circled around in the woods somehow, but like that should have been
That's
that
what I
should have
was
been brought up.
thinking, but it does
Yeah.
not.
It doesn't say it, but it really should if that's the case, because it definitely sounds like he got he did like a loop in the woods and then came out through the front part of the woods.
But he does not.
But it doesn't describe that, so yeah.
And yeah, maybe it's like I have a note here. Maybe it's intentional, showing the creatures moving and following him, but I don't think so, since it's referencing the forest is creepier than it was before, and the only woods that would be specifically creepier than they were before were the ones he went into. Unless he's scared of all woods now, I don't know.
Yeah. And like you could still have like the gravel, like creek, like the crunching of the gravel and stuff description if you want to have that. Just have it like be the patio or like the path at the back of the house to the door.
No, there's a way easier way to do this.
Hmm?
You just change it like this. That's when I heard. This is after walking up the gravel and going in the front door. That's when I heard a loud thump from behind the house.
Okay.
Hustling
yes.
inside, I slammed and locked the door and shut with haste. I ran to the back of the house and peered outside of my window towards the woods.
Okay.
The way it sounds, locks the door and stares out the front window, which doesn't do unless he does. I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah. And like maybe the front door is the only is the only like door that he has like unlocked is the front, or even the only
whether he
the
goes
only
in the
entrance
front
exit.
door or the back door does not matter.
Well, no, I'm just saying like okay.
The whole thing is the location of the creature and the sound and which forest is being referenced.
Yeah.
Because right now the forest is moving. So wait, there was a forest there. That was a parking lot.
Oh God.
Wait, where's the parking lot? It's behind my house. What the hell?
Where's my driveway? It's gone now. That's the bigger threat here, not the werewolf thing. It's the cops of the tree cops.
Where's my car?
the tree ants that are just like moving the forest around him, like because tree ants are like shepherds of the forest. So they're like actively moving, like shifting the forest around this guy's house.
Yeah, but also no, that's not happening.
No.
And then we get to the spot where he spots the creature from the window. I expected many things to emerge from behind the tree. Perhaps a monster, a ghost, maybe a demon from hell that came to collect my soul. Anything but this. So that's 3 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And the flow of it's kind of weird, especially the front part, which is like, I had expected many things to emerge from behind the tree, period. Perhaps a monster. Like, it starts with perhaps, which is kind of strange. So combining these, I feel like it flows better. Like this. I had expected many things to emerge from behind the tree, comma. A monster, a ghost, maybe a demon from hell that came to collect my soul. Ellipses. Anything but this.
Yeah.
Because they're all short enough that you could get away with combining them, and the ellipses adds like importance and what's the word? What's the word? Give me the word. Brain, give me the word. Emphasis on the end. There is the word. I found the word. Thanks for helping me. Thanks for jumping in, guys. Helping me.
I didn't know what you're. I honestly did not know what you were trying to find. So,
Okay, that's fine. And that is the end of my grammar and yellow.
Okay. Yeah. Also, it's a gamer, destroyer of short sentences.
A little bit, yeah.
Hates those short sentences.
Yeah. I'm not doing a children's book here. Combine that shit. But don't combine it too much, because then I'll give you shit.
Then you get shit over that. Yeah. So it's like the happy medium. It's like Earth.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be like because you don't want to be like Venus, because then you get like greenhouse effect. And you don't want to be like Mars, because then it's like barren and cold. Earth is in the safe spot. is in the sweet spot of the solar system.
Fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess we'll move on to actual thoughts. So I'm gonna start with this one here. Also, this is an example of the overall of like an overall thing I noticed in the story, but I'm using this quote. At first, I couldn't exactly tell what had ripped me from the loving caress of sleep. I had previously been snoozing in my comfortable home. My body was wrapped in a warm blanket, and my head rested on a nice fluffy pillow. Annoyed, I laid my head down once more, letting my eyes fall. It was then, as I jolted upright in bed, that I realized what had awoken me. So this is just like, this is the start of the story, and it continued on like the way really I'm kind of just like looking at the writing of the story. I have to give this story some credit for remaining in character with these flowery purple prose style of writing all throughout. Like, despite the modern setting, as we learn later on, I feel like the writing of the story to me anyway, like as a reader of like older like kind of pulp fiction and horror and stuff like from like Lovecraft's time and stuff like that, I kind of got some of that in the personality of the writing for the story or for this character. So, and it, honestly, until I realized that like the character had like a flashlight, I was like, oh, flashlights could be an older like flashlight, but then it said like a cell phone. It's like, okay, so this is modern times. But before that, I was like, the way this character's writing and the way this like character's narrating the story, it kind of felt a little of like an olden times.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but and I'm not like, it's not a bad thing in the story. It's just the way the character like narrates, and like I kind of dig that because I like that older style of narration and the way it's done in the story.
That thought didn't even cross my mind. For some reason, I was just like, it's modern day, go. Like, even like right from Jump Street, I'm just like, this is modern day. Like,
well, like
at first I was default. Yeah. I think it's like when I read a story, my default is this is modern day until proven otherwise.
Fair. Well, from the context clues I got, like, from the clues I was getting, like initially, I kind of went into this like with the flowery prose, and also the way he was describing his home. It almost sounded like a cabin to me, and that seemed kind of weird that it would be a modern cabin. But I mean, I guess that is a thing. but like my go-to initially was that, okay, so this is maybe an older time, perhaps, maybe even like the 70s or 60s time, like that, like that recent. But then we get a cell phone. It's like, okay, no, it is actually it's just an older house or like a more rustic house. And
it could be a massive cell phone with a huge antenna.
It could be. Because
there was no smartness connected to it.
No, it was just a cell phone. Like it was just a portable phone that he used.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I kind of got that distinct feeling that it was like, again, just the way the story is written, it kind of gave me that vibe of like an anachronism, and in a good way. Like I liked the way it was written. And like honestly, the writing of the story also kept me pretty engaged, the entire way through. So,
were you sad when it became cell phone?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't sad. I was just like, oh, okay. So this is actually like, it just confirms like, okay, no, this is modern. Okay, cool.
Okay,
and I moved on.
Fair enough.
And
that being said, in hindsight, after reading the whole story, like, how is this story here? How is he recounting this story? Is he in an insane asylum?
No. Well, it could be. The way I took this story by the end is that this is legitimately just a first-person perspective story. So this isn't meant to be an immersion thing where like this is being told to us by the guy. It is, but like we're not. It's not like in lore, like being told to us. It's just like this is being told to us from this perspective of writing.
Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to have a real world connection to how it's being given to us or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that, and that's valid. Like,
Yep, that's valid.
yeah, that's how I took it anyway. Like, unless that, like that, it is like from the guy's like from his insane asylum or wherever he's being kept because he's become a werewolf creature or something. But I took it more of like it's more abstracted, like narrator, like
Yeah,
it
because
is.
it doesn't say, that's you assume that.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. But I'll move on. He stood straight, facing towards the house, his eyes fixated on mine. Around that time was when my head began to feel light. My surroundings dissolved before me, and my eyes focused on the man outside. The sound of rain and wind was tuned out of my mind. I felt a pull. It was a strange feeling, one that could almost be described as a magnet, as a magnet attracting me, convincing me to unlock the door and walk out. So at this point, again, like I'm already aware that the story is a werewolf story because of the contest thing at the top, and also it's called a Silver Flame. I'm guessing it's werewolves.
Are you sure? Is Aaron's
How-
character in our current game a church of werewolves? Because he's from the Church of the Silver Flame in our Eberron campaign over on When Lust Die.
Wow, nice plug. That the Eberron campaign is not going up anytime soon either.
Shut up! It will eventually
in 2024.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So if you're listening to this in 2024, you can check it out over on One Let's Die. I'm doing a future plug. You're welcome.
Thank you. But like like my initial comment to this was like, wait, I thought this was a werewolf story, not a vampire story. Since when do werewolves get mesmerism and mental domination abilities? Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I even like looked. I started trying to Google like werewolf abilities in lore, and I didn't really come up with anything like finding. There are apparently some stories or lore where werewolves have like telepathy or empathy, or even like they can dominate somebody, but like not psychically, but like through their like pheromones and through like their aggressive nature and stuff like that. But it was weird to see it like because the way this creature attacks seems to mentally attack our narrator here. It was coming off more like how a vampire does it in like all those in like Dracula or like in any number of vampire story where like the character is like come out of the window, blah 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 blah, blah. Like that kind of thing.
Maybe he's a half breed.
Maybe,
and that's why he doesn't have his teeth anymore because he ripped them out because he doesn't like being a half.
Well,
or
his
his fellow
kind of
werewolves didn't like that he's a half breed, so they ripped out his vampire teeth.
That would be really interesting. Yeah, well, we've also like already kind of established in the story that like, or as the story goes on, this werewolf is a very different creature from your regular werewolf, as we find out.
Is it though?
Like the tongue thing and the black ooze. I'll get to that in a bit.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, like
the
whole like
byproduct of him being half breed, though.
Perhaps, yeah. I have another explanation though for it, honestly. But yeah, like I when I read that part where like he's being the Nair's being dominated, I was like, I thought this was a werewolf story, not a vampire story. But on to the next one here. The warm house felt cold as my palms met the mahogany floor. Mahogany. Sorry.
The hell was that from?
It's from Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's an old reference.
Mahogany.
Wow.
Yeah. I grasped the windowsill and hoisted myself up, stumbling a bit from the unexplained hangover. I regained my composure and glanced at the window. There stood the man, face pressed against the window, inches away from my face. So when I first read this, I will admit that last bit of like the man suddenly being there legitimately gave me a chill. Like it was a literary jump scare for me.
Nice.
And on this topic, this story has had me a few times guessing where it's going to go, or like it's caught me off guard a couple of times. Like something happens in the story and I'm like thinking it's either going to be option A or option B that's going to happen, but then it goes with an option C that I didn't even think about. Like, for instance, when he's like leaving the forest and going up the gravel like driveway and going to his house, I was like, okay, either nothing's going to happen or the creature's gonna be right behind him when he goes to the door. And then it goes with C where he heard a thump and he was like, nope, in the door, close, lock. I was like, okay, I didn't expect that. And likewise, like even like at the end of the story when like the creature is allowed inside, it's like, all right, well, he's dead. But then it goes like this weird like way of it transferring its like, or like whatever it did to him with the tongue and stuff like that. It's like I wasn't expecting that at all.
Who would?
Yeah, exactly. So like I don't know if that's something on my end of the at the time of like reading this, like, or my perspective, or if it's in the writing. But I'll give it to the story. It kept me on my toes throughout the entire story while I was reading it, as to like what the hell is going to happen next.
Mhm.
And that's I'm saying that is a good thing. But the next thing I have here, a strange feeling of unease and acceptance mixed to form the feeling I remembered, the feeling he had experienced earlier. Wait, is that a typo? Or is that a strange feeling of unease and acceptance mixed to form the feeling I remembered, the feeling he had experienced earlier? Did I feel plagued by ... comfort? So first thing, this might be like post grammar inquisition thing. The feeling I had experienced earlier, not he had experienced earlier.
Oh yeah.
That's unless it's like there's like a there's like an experience transference between like the man creature and narrator.
Well, that would explain his days.
Mm-hmm. And that is something else. Like again, in like when I was looking up again, I was looking it up on like villain or like unnatural or like villain wikis for werewolves and stuff like that. Some werewolves do have like a mental ability of like mind transference, or like where they can transfer like visions of their experiences or memories into other people. So like maybe that's what's happening, but
If it was, though, it would be explained that I don't know how I felt this, but I felt his thoughts and feelings and experiences.
Yeah, like he had experienced earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, getting back to like my actual thought here on this, where he's like, again, it being like having this weird, like warm, fuzzy feeling of comfort with this creature while this creature's dominating him and such. And I was like, okay, the way this story has described the constant stare-offs and interactions between Nair and the bearded man / werewolf, is this story going to just completely bypass buddy horror and go straight into para-romance?
Yeah.
Like,
It
I'm
might.
surprised. And I mean, like, we do kind of get a tongue tentacle rape kind of scene, which is kind of gross and weird. But like, I'm surprised Nair didn't describe popping a boner in more flowery verse, as the story seems to want to do, of course, as he stares strangely, longingly into this man's eyes. It is peculiar because this is more in line, again, with the predatory nature of a vampire than a werewolf. Because in the modern mythos structure, from what I've read and heard from about like modern monster myth structures, so like the werewolf is supposed to represent like savagery and like our like us trying to control our anger and rage and stuff like that, and like usually has to do like the fear of violence and stuff like that. Vampires represent the fear of like rape and like predatory and like a sexual predatory nature. And this creature's kind of going into both lanes, basically.
Hence why he's a crossbreed.
I'm kind of like I'm slowly kind of coming around to your crossbreed idea.
Hence why when it was describing his transformation, it didn't say that he like grew fur or
He
anything
became a
like
wolf
that.
man. Oh, he did grow
No,
fur.
stop,
Didn't he?
don't. Let me finish.
Sorry.
It said that his body hair tripled.
Quadrupled, isn't it?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't say that it turned into fur. He just got more body hair,
Hairy.
but it's still body hair, not fur.
Yeah, true.
And
It is-
triple or quadruple the amount of a normal person. It doesn't matter. You're not going to have enough that it's going to be a straight up full on werewolf, you know?
Yeah. So he's more like a wolf, like kind of a half wolf man, half vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Werepire.
Yeah. or a vam wolf.
Vamwolf? I don't know which is worse.
I think a werepire sounds really fun. Or a lycanpire.
A lycanpire, yeah.
Or a vamthrope.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
I kind of like that. Yeah, vamthrope. So he's the main male protagonist of the Underworld movies. Because he was a blend of werewolf DNA and vampire DNA mixed, like he was a werewolf and then he was bitten by a vampire, thus making him a crossbreed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Was he less hairy too because of that?
He was also very
Was
he still kept his hair. He just turned blue.
Okay.
I think he just turned dark gray blue and yeah. Also, there's also I remember there was actually a real Ghostbusters cartoon episode where they were dealing with a village that had vampires and werewolves. And what ended up happening at the end was the werewolves bit the vampires. And the vampires bit the werewolves. So they all became werewolf vampire hybrids, but they had all the weaknesses of both. So so what the Ghostbusters did was they were on an island that was connected by a bridge. So the vampires could cross it because vampires can't cross running water naturally. They can't ford the river. They need a bridge. I guess they use they can use a bridge to cross the river and stuff like that. So what the Ghostbusters did is they destroyed the river, or no, they destroyed the bridge.
The entire river.
No, they destroyed the bridge as they were leaving the village, trapping the werewolf vampire hybrids on the island.
Get their fingers out the window and be like, "Fuck you guys, we're out of here."
Yeah. But yeah,
they probably didn't do that, but yeah.
No, probably not. But yeah,
also, can I just say, I hate the word Ford in regards to the river because I just keep thinking of the Ford Motor Company.
Yeah, but it's not Ford. Technically, it's not Ford. It's Fjord, the river. Or is it Fjord? No, Fjord is a geological coastal mass or landscape thing or landmark.
That being said, Ford may have named his cars after the act of moving a vehicle across the river, saying my vehicles can ford the river too. Therefore, it's
well, yeah, because it probably is because the word ford means crossing.
Oh,
so yeah, it's FORD is the fording the Oregon, fording a river in the Oregon Trail. So but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I think you might be onto something with this vampire werewolf hybrid, because this thing is not a traditional werewolf, or even it doesn't seem like a werewolf, like a common werewolf. It's something wholly new and interesting.
Yes. I'll let you continue, but first I will highlight my own idiocy.
Okay.
It's named the Ford Motor Company because his name is Henry Ford.
Well, yeah, I knew that. But at the end, I mean,
am I in Durban?
No, you're not. No, it's not. Yes, yeah, his. Even I knew that. His last name
I knew
was
that too.
Ford.
I just forgot it.
People, their last names are named for other things too. So yeah.
Please continue.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on to this next one here. He too sat on the floor the same way he had before. The man hung his head low and placed his hands on the floor. The lights dimmed to almost complete darkness for no rational explanation, but intuitively I understood that the man had done it. He was still and appeared focused on me. So part of the story I was like, is is this all going to be a dream? Like, at the start, Nair wakes up to the noise. And this is starting to feel like how you would know things in dreams. Like, the lights in the house start like dimming into darkness for no rational reason, but intuitively the narrator knows that it was caused by the creature or by the man. It's like, and then we get this. With that, I leaned my head back and waited for the beast to take my life. I awaited the sharp daggers for teeth the wolf had to tear into my throat and consume me. I prepared for the beast to rip me into 2 pieces with enormous hands. The wolf opened its mouth and I looked up in surprise. It had no teeth. All that stood in its mouth were gums where teeth should be. A slim, black tongue, like that of a snake, exited the wolf's mouth. The tongue was forked and dark as char. Wait, what? We saw the man's... Didn't we see the man have teeth before? Like, he was smiling at the window?
You
and
can
like
smile without baring your teeth.
Well, and then like as he was like he's been talking and stuff. Generally, you see teeth when somebody's talking, and like he was murmuring and stuff like that. Like that's how like the narrator was able to like read the lips, right?
Outside a window in the dark, 20, 30 feet away.
Okay, fair. I don't know. Like for me, I was surprised that suddenly he didn't have like the wolf didn't have teeth, and like. So I was like starting to question if like is this actually a dream? Like again, where like suddenly something doesn't have something that it did like a moment before.
After recording, go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and say lycanthrope, and see if you can see your teeth.
I have a mirror in my room, so I'm doing it right now. lycanthrope. Yeah, no, I can still see teeth. Like I can see my lower teeth.
Yeah, but you're also right there. Rip that mirror out of the slot, because that's like a sliding door mirror that I know. Take it outside, put it in the forest.
No.
Go back inside and then try.
But like also like the guy was like reading his lips when he was like a few feet away from him in the house.
Yes, that's true.
So he would have seen
the
him
lights
then.
on in the house. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Also, and I was like thinking like, well, he was also like right up in his grill, but like, and with a pane of glass between them at the window. But it does just say that his lips were like pressed into a curvaceous smile. It never says anything about teeth in that sentence. But I may have like just assumed that there was like a toothy smile there or a toothy grin. Because it said
might
curvaceous
also be a
smile.
case of like. Yeah. Nair is kind of just fearing for his life right now. I don't think he's looking to see if this guy happens to have teeth or not.
True. Yeah. It's weird that like suddenly this creature doesn't have teeth when us as a reader would have expected him to have teeth.
Or the human form does have teeth, but when he transforms, it like grows over his teeth when he's growing.
So it's like toothless, but like in reverse, like the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon, who like. He has teeth, but they're retractable.
Sure, I've never seen that, but sure.
Yeah, in that's why the character names the dragon Toothless, because at first it looks like he has no teeth, but then he like opens his mouth and there's just gums, and then suddenly shink.
Why?
I don't know why, honestly. But yeah, so I at this point I was like, wait, is this a dream? Like, what's going on? Like. I was not confused in a bad way, but I was just like, this story is really just throwing me for a loop on things. Like, I don't know where this is going. And then we get this. The wolf's tongue entered my mouth. I gagged as it touched the back of my throat. I realized the beast's tongue was impossible in length. As I felt it scratching the walls of my esophagus, my body writhed and squirmed in discomfort as I felt that thing traveling further and further downward. And so I'm reading this part and I'm kind of getting vibes from the movie Rec, the Spanish zombie movie Rec.
REC.
REC, which stands for like record, because like it's all through like a camcorder or through like through
found
news
footage.
crews like found footage and stuff. Yeah. Is
Spoilers.
is this thing like the parasitic thing at the end of Rec, where like it changes hosts? Like the tongue is actually like the actual like creature within the werewolf, or is it like that creepy like fish parasite that like in some deep sea creatures? So there's this like weird creepy like I guess it's basically like a millipede or a centipede like creature that like it's down in the ocean, and it will it'll worm its way into a fish's mouth, cut off the fish's tongue, and replace the tongue, and basically eat whatever the fish eats.
For real?
Yeah, that's it's an actual parasite in fish in deep sea fish. It was also the inspiration for an alien that lives in on one of the Jupiter or Saturn moons in several sci-fi things like Time Watch. The RPG actually has it as an alien, and I've actually seen it in Eclipse Phase a couple of times. It's an actual fucked up parasite that like it gets into the person. It gets into the. Thankfully, it's only for fish. It hasn't jumped species to humans
yet.
But like I've seen, but again, see sci-fi movies or sci-fi products like Eclipse Phase or Time Watch for things like that. Actually, I think
vibes of like xenomorphs too, with the mouth inside the mouth.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It definitely has that vibe. But yeah, so yeah, that creature, like that kind of thing. That's what I was kind of getting vibes off with the whole tongue going down into like this guy's like throat, because like why else is it doing this?
Hungry.
And then we get this thing here. The wolf snarled as its tongue wiggled in my stomach. My skin turned pale, and I realized my air was running out. I looked for a split second at the wolf's tongue. It was covered in a thick black substance that appeared to be entering my mouth. My eyes fluttered as I felt myself passing out from the lack of oxygen. My head fell to the floor. You know what else this is kind of reminding me of, with the whole like black fluid and like this weird way this supposed werewolf is like getting into you? I think I might honestly use this as inspiration for a Secret World tabletop RPG game, you know, whenever that book gets finished and comes out. Because this werewolf is giving me serious vibes of like the filth in the Secret World. And for context, in the Secret World, which is an MMORPG set in like the modern day, where like all manner of like conspiracy theories and like mysteries and supernatural things are like real and such. Basically everything is real, like everything is true, is their motto.
But it's all been covered up basically.
Yeah, there's just a secret war going on between like three major factions of like secret societies. But the filth, or the 0 point pathogen, as it is also known as in the Secret World, is basically this like otherworldly like residue that mutates and changes and corrupts current day Earth organic life.
Would you say that this residue is evil?
It is a residue evil. It's I think it's like a byproduct of like the great old ones in the setting. So it's like basically like it's from like beyond time and space, in like another reality that's like I think it's also like suggested that perhaps it is the next stage of like magic and evolutionary like biology on Earth, because like our age is coming to an end and the age of filth is going to be coming in. Because like the whole thing with the Secret World is that like the world has gone through multiple ages with like where like different types of magic have kind of like grown, like risen and then fallen in way for a new type of magic to kind of rise and fall. Like it's all like cycles of magic or cycles of like of life on Earth. Since the foundations of Earth itself. And filth is the new version. It's like kind of very corruptive, very goopy. It does actually, there are werewolves in the setting, and they do get like corrupted by the filth. So I was kind of getting vibes of that as well. It is also this weird black viscous liquid that like turns people into monsters and stuff. So I was kind of getting that kind of vibe. Also, weird thing while I'm on this on the whole like train of video game stuff. So recently, I was watching a video about the Tyranids and specifically the gene stealer cults of the Tyranids from Warhammer 40K, and like how they reproduce and how they spread. And it's kind of similar to this, where like I honestly could just be like a werewolf attack, where like basically like a person gets infected with the gene stealer virus or their whatever they do to spread from an attack by a gene stealer, and then they become like dominated and like cultishly cultishly devoted to gene stealers and like spreading the gene stealer like species by like mating, and then like whatever they reproduce, they create a pure strain gene stealer.
Man, if they
again,
take over the world, what are we going to wear for pants?
I know. Once you've stolen all the genes,
yeah,
what is there left to steal? Wow.
How can we go on?
But yeah, no. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting. Kind of like, again, I was the narrator of the world. Suddenly, I was a protagonist of the world for a moment. I was like, oh, this is kind of like what I've been reading. But I digress. Yeah, I definitely kind of.
Before you move on from the whole tongue situation,
yeah,
I'm surprised you didn't try biting on it to get him to stop. You just kind of like, all right, fuck it.
He rolled a sand check. He failed, and he entered a fugue state. So he just let it happen.
He did also punch it, and it broke his ribs and got angrier. So maybe he's like, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he rolled sand, and he rolled sand against helplessness and the unnatural. Mm-hmm. So he's just fucked.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
literally, maybe.
I mean, again, see my comment earlier about like Wicked City and how this whole ending part kind of reminded me of the tongue tentacle rape scene from Wicked City.
Mm-hmm. And if this act does make another one, like maybe the tongue itself like deposited basically a baby version of the lycanthrope thing inside him.
Well, I think by the end it's ensued that like he is becoming one of those creatures.
Yes, but you said transferred, which makes it sound like the previous host like dropped dead.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably copied.
Yeah, probably copied. That's probably what that black fluid is or something. Again, it's just the filth. Like he's just transferring filth over from his body to a new body.
Mm-hmm.
And like basically just spreading the filth. So, yeah, that's honestly my actual thoughts for the story. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right, let's see here. The first one here. The pitter-patter of rain thumped against the thin glass, the tune of a soft melody that I soon found myself humming to. So we're just going,
or like just in rapid succession, just like just like
depending on how bad the rain is.
Yeah. Also, for some reason, I don't know why this song pops in my head. It's like rainy night, rainy night,
Yeah, I don't know why that popped in your head either. That's weird.
Yeah.
But I think it's because like the like that, like that's like that. It's kind of the pitter patter of rain. Oh, no, it's kind of the pitter patter of rain, like do like the like tap 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 of rain.
I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one here. Approaching the front door of the house, I grabbed the heavy trench coat that hung on the coat hanger. So at this point in my mind, he's just rolled on a bed, so he's barefoot and in his pajamas.
Oh, I went underwear. With mine.
Yeah, he's just got boxers on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then
sorry.
He just grabs his trench coat and flashlight and goes outside into the rain.
Yeah, I kind of wish it also.
Numb.
Yeah, honestly, probably that's why. I kind of wish it had said boots as well. But no, it's just raincoat. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah. If you want to be an asshole and just assume that it was just the raincoat.
And he walked up to the dresser. Like
Yeah.
the clothes were right there, but he just grabbed the flashlight. He could have said grabbing the flashlight and some clothes
Yeah,
and grabbing
true.
whatever clothes were on the floor on my way out or something, you know. You could
Yep.
do it
Yeah.
in a one-off line, just so it's not ridiculous. Because he's basically looking like a flasher at this point.
Just so a bunch of asshats don't just like, oh, well, we need to literally have everything described in the story, otherwise it didn't happen.
How dare you?
Hey, I can make fun of ourselves.
No, that's my job. Only I can make fun of
How
me.
dare
Yeah, you.
this guy is unfucking believable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then my continuing note is that I felt the sensation of rain, feet, as my body went numb. It's like, well, not surprising since his feet went numb soon after he left the warm carpet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Oh, so that must have really. Oh, I guess he didn't also feel the pain of like walking on gravel barefoot, unless he's
Yeah,
like.
he said he was walking on stuff and like picking up sticks and stuff on his feet.
Yeah, so he's like walking around barefoot in the rain, and like, oh god, like.
Yeah, in the forest with all the shrubs and twigs
Like,
and
like seriously, like werewolf thing aside, he's gonna need a tetanus shot with some if he stabs himself with a rusty nail or something.
He does say boot.
He does say boots.
Yeah, with each step, a moist leaf or twig underneath my boot squished and snapped. He's wearing boots.
So he was wearing boots.
Didn't
It just
put them on.
no, he just doesn't describe him putting it on.
Oh.
It's inferred when he gets his raincoat or his trench coat.
No. That explains it. He sleeps fully clothed with boots on.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Or because I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 recently, his trench coat is his full outfit.
So, yes. When you equip
I
the trench coat, it also gives you
gives you
pants and a shirt
pants.
underneath,
Yeah.
and a hat and boots. Yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't give you a hat. That's stupid. Like that's silly. Like headgear
That's
is not part of the. Yeah, headgear is a separate thing in outfits and stuff like that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, when you get like, because I just recently got like this this cool bomber jacket from a certain main antagonist / like supporting character in the game, and it's like it just describes it as like Maxon's jacket, and then I got it and put it on, and suddenly I'm wearing also Maxon's shirt, his pants, and his boots, and his fingerless gloves.
Wow, that's a lot more than a jacket, actually.
Yeah, no, it is like the entire. Yeah, it's like again, like that happens to also like if you grab like a character's like if there's like a special outfit, you grab the entire ensemble, not just the trench coat or not just the jacket.
Yeah, both those options make more sense. I'm fine with either of those options, that he sleeps fully clothed or he equips everything as one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those D&D assholes that like, oh well, I'm gonna sleep with my my armor on.
Yeah.
So I don't have to spend like 10 minutes getting my armor on if we were attacked in the night. I'll just
Aaron
suffer
really
like
should
a
have
minus.
done that last time.
Yeah. Well, no, you actually will suffer like penalties for doing
Yeah.
that because that's stupid. Why would you fucking wear metal armor to sleep?
Well, if it's leather armor, that's more comfy.
Yeah, but it's still not. It's still you're still suffering possibilities. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway.
Sorry.
The next quote here. With the twist of the doorknob, I had exited the warmth and comfort of my dwelling. I faced the chilly autumn air and the drizzling rain which pounded against my face and back.
Yeah.
It's just coming from everywhere.
Hey, it's like that one thing that hit you there, gamer. Remember back in high school?
Oh yeah, when I was walking down the street in the rain with my hat on and my glasses on underneath them, and somehow I got hit directly in the eye with a raindrop.
And it was not just a hat, a build hat. So it would like
a baseball cap.
Yeah.
So it somehow went past my brim, then like went towards my forehead, down, and then into my eye. It didn't roll down my brow. It went directly into my eye. Like someone just shot it from my glasses into my eye. I just don't understand that.
Yeah. It is still one of my favorite high school stories from like us hanging out.
Yeah.
Just because you're like, gah! Like
For
you
no
literally,
fucking reason.
you like legitimately like backed up.
Yeah. It's like I got hit by an attack in a video game and I'm like stumbling back from it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was kind of. I did think that was silly in the story where he's getting hit by in the face and the back.
Maybe his
It's like-
head's on backwards.
Yeah.
I was
that
was I was wondering that myself.
Yeah.
For a second, I visualized that.
Or it's just because the rain's blowing around everywhere. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, with a high enough, it does describe like a high wind. Again, see the trees that are like bowing and knocking and stuff like that. So like the wind can affect rain when it's coming down. So
Yeah.
it could just be like a maelstrom, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, my next quote here. The soft melody of the cricket ceased, and I found myself startled by how quiet the forest had become. To which I'm like, well, why weren't the crickets mentioned earlier? Like, it's only mentioned here for effect because now they're not doing anything.
True.
Why weren't his boots mentioned earlier? They were only
Yeah.
mentioned later for effect when he
That's
stepped
true.
on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it's not really relevant until it is, basically.
Yeah.
It's like the absence of noise is what's wrong with the situation, and like that's when the character notices, wait, that noise has always been there. I just now noticing it isn't there.
Yeah.
All right. So my next quote here. I held no desire to move. Rather, I felt inclined to stand and be still. Still as the nature surrounding me. Still as the firm oak that stood before me, serving as an impenetrable wall of wood. Still as the Stillwood King. Sorry, wrong story.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
don't know where this is placed. This could be in West Virginia.
Yeah, but that's where my mind went. It's like he's in a
Yeah.
forest and he's
Oh.
mentioning still a lot.
Yeah, he could just drop it.
He's in the Stillwood. There go. Oh God! This is what they say when there's no wolves in the Stillwood.
Oh my god. He is a
There are-
wolf-like thing.
But there are no wolves in the Stillwood.
Mm-hmm. So much good Stillwood stuff.
Yeah.
For those unaware, it's Icar Falls.
Check out our episodes or some of our earlier Icar Falls episodes for.
Or you know what? Just check out Icar Falls itself.
That's right. Yeah. Go to the Icar Falls website and have yourself a gander at some of the short stories that have been submitted.
Yeah, check out the Stillwood King and the Wolves of the Stillwood.
Yeah.
I believe that's the title on both of them.
Yeah, the Stillwood King is one. I think that's either in like local legends. It might be its own separate story, or or it's in like one of Chris Straub's like actual stories about Icar Falls. And I believe the Wolves of the Stillwood is a submitted story for Icar Falls.
Regardless, Google will take you there.
Yes. Or I'll leave a link in the description below to Icar Falls.
Yeah, because you'll remember that.
I might.
Okay. I just figured it's so specific you might not.
You think that. My brain works weird sometimes with memory.
Mm.
All right. So my next note here is it was the weeping that had drawn me out of my home in the first place. What? It would have been nice for this to be mentioned earlier, when he was in the home. Also, it's a witch! Run away!
Yeah.
Oh,
the witches from Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't weeping before; it was screams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think this might be a case of like the author's using a word that is similar to screaming or screeching, weeping. Like but like it isn't exactly, but it kind of is.
Also, the creature is able to make whatever noises it wants. It doesn't have to only do screams. It's changing it up.
Maybe
That might be why
it's changing the closer the character is getting to. Kind of like how the witch in Left 4 Dead like changes its voice, it changes its sound effects the closer you get to it.
Yes. All right. So, when I was reading this, um, I was totally just expecting this to be a creepy old man
Yeah,
until it got to the really weird werewolf stuff that was really gross and
and
uh,
goopy and visceral.
yeah, it. I didn't need the intense werewolf makeout session.
Yeah.
Um,
Speak for
I mean,
yourself,
I
bro.
mean, I mean, to be fair, again, like we read horror stories. That was horrific. So good job. But
yeah.
yeah.
But personally, I think it would have been hilarious if it was just an old man that was crazy and howling at the moon.
That honestly, that could have been a valid thing. Honestly,
And he
like,
just acts like a werewolf, hence why it's tagged
Yeah.
under the werewolf.
well,
Like,
because
Yeah.
that's
thing.
also like like that is also a suggestion for what werewolves were historically, where they were just people that because there is
Yeah.
some kind of connection between like when a full moon happens, people like going kind of crazy or going like kind of wigging out or getting weird happen like that kind of there I think there have been some studies done where like when the full moon comes out, people start acting funny in like larger numbers.
Hmm.
So like there is some there might be some historical connection between like the full moon and like people getting a little loony or a little loopy. So um and again I've seen stories or I've seen some werewolf stories or like some werewolf things in media. Heck, Red Dead Redemption 2 has a crazy old man who is like supposed to be like a wolf man, like a werewolf kind of character in the northern forest area. And it just turns out to be a weird caveman. Well, like not a Neanderthal caveman. I mean, like a man who lives in a cave.
Hmm.
But it's all like wild. He's like a wild man. Like that's all, and like all like, and I think he lives among wolves too. So
Hmm.
yeah, that I do agree though. That I think that would be an interesting. Uh, if again the
Interesting
way the
take on a
story was
werewolf
going.
story.
Yeah, I think the way
Interesting.
this. Sorry.
You said, that's why I was starting to respond. However, you sounds like you understood what it meant, so cut this out. Please continue.
Okay. Like just the fact that like the story has already had like it's changed up things so many things in the story in like the like you don't know where it's gonna go. That could have been like where it went. So
Mhm. Yeah. And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
okay. Gamer.
My go, as I say, apparently.
Have I
First
made you
off,
have I suddenly made you aware of that now?
yeah, 100%.
Because you say
It's
like
weird
every
now.
episode, like every time you like every like I've noticed you do it like every episode.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't feel weird about it. It's just like it's just an interesting like vocab word.
I think it might be a little bit of carryover from watching a show called Drawfee, where
Okay.
3 or 4 artists draw something based on some weird prompt that people suggest.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard
And
of
one of
that.
them, like when it's their turn, they usually go like my go, or like they say something to be like, okay, it's my turn.
Gotcha.
Anyways, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So the first one is in regards to the art, where the
Yeah.
picture is just kind of like it's the top line of a forest with a giant full moon behind it. And I get it, werewolves and all that, but it's I don't know if it's the best sort of image to go with the story,
Okay.
because yeah, the moon's referenced, but it doesn't even specifically say that it's a full moon when it's referenced at all.
It's also not raining.
It's not raining, that too.
Well,
But
and also like not just like the sky is so clear in that image, but there should be some cloud cover to show that like it had recently rained,
yeah,
like minutes ago.
Hmm.
and like a better picture, in my opinion, if the author lives with a forest behind his house, his or her house, I don't know, regardless, if the author lives at a place that has a forest behind the house, just wait till it's nighttime and take a picture at the back window of the
That's
base
true.
of the trees, because
Yeah.
that's really the crux of the story is when he's at his window looking at the trees. That's when the shit happens. I'm not
Yeah.
saying edit a dude in, just have a picture of the trees of a backyard through a window.
Yeah, and you also don't even need to have have that yourself. Like if the author doesn't have that behind their house, they could probably find like a some version of that online.
Yeah, probably.
Heck, now I'm kind of tempted to just like offer up one of my own photos of my backwoods.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take one
Or
too.
even,
I got a forest
I was gonna
behind
say
mine.
even you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll send her. We'll make a couple and send them over.
Yeah. Icydice, if you're interested, let us know
Mhm.
in the comments below or via email.
So moving on.
Mhm.
Actually, I talked about this because how he's nude. Okay. One thing though that we didn't bring up is he went out to check to see because there's an animal making enough noise that he's hearing it in his room. Yet he doesn't bring anything to defend himself with, like a baseball bat or a broom or something.
Hey man, that
He's going out
Maglite.
there. He's going. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's going out there to potentially ward off some sort of animal that's messing around with his house. I would want to have something to defend myself with.
It is peculiar.
Hmm.
Like the guy really didn't think it through, to be honest. Like he got out there with a Maglite and a trench coat,
And that's
boxers, trench coat, boxers, and boots.
Yeah, apparently boots.
And walked out into the rainy, cold autumn woods at night, with nothing but a Maglite to protect himself with. And I mean, those Maglites are made that way for a reason, like as a makeshift shillelagh or like a cudgel.
I don't think that's the reason. I think it's for the
I'm pretty sure Maglites, like part of the function, like why they're so big is like so that they could like bonk somebody on the head if needed.
Yeah, that's their tagline. Maglites. You could beat a man with Maglites, made for clubbing.
Law enforcement, actually, Maglites are used in law enforcement, and it ensures officers' safety as well as protects the public. Security and police personnel often carry Maglite flashlights in red, as they can be employed as a defensive weapon, especially at night or in dark locations. That's on the Wikipedia for Maglite.
Yeah, but anything can be a weapon if you're determined.
It's a self-defense. Maglites were designed to be a self-defense weapon as well as a flashlight. That's also assuming this flashlight is a Maglite. Like it was a giant black flashlight, so I just assumed it was a Maglite.
Yeah. Also, it really doesn't matter. He doesn't even swing the damn thing, so who cares? Moving on.
Yeah.
So, in regards to him calling 911 and not really saying anything. First off, I'm glad that the cop did show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that honestly, like that was refreshing.
Yes, very much so.
That the cop showed up not because like he made the call and said something, but because he made the call and didn't say something. So because the cops are supposed to like investigate calls even if like they get the call and like no one responds or like suddenly it stops. Like even if it's a false alarm, they are still required to go to your house and check up on you.
Yeah. And secondly, he didn't hang up or put the phone down, so they're hearing everything that happened.
True. Oh shit, you're right.
Like the transformation, it's shoving its tongue down his throat. All that shit is probably being broadcasted to the operator on the other side.
That poor person is probably just rolling sand checks. Or that definitely made their night. They're writing about that on Reddit No Sleep. I was a dispatch operator for a police department. You won't believe what I just heard on last night's dispatch.
Maybe that's the in-lore reason of how this story became a thing.
Oh my god.
Like everything is fabricated up until that point. They're just trying to think of a reason why this happened.
This is an introductory episode, like introductory story to a Reddit No Sleep story.
Yeah. but also no. Anyways, moving on.
Well, yeah, the story could continue going on because like the story ends with our narrator becoming a monster like / victim of the monster. So like
Yes.
now the police are the new protagonists.
Mhm.
And again the phone is still on, so the dispatcher's still hearing everything. It's like, hey, police, we're, oh god, what happened to him? Oh my god, oh my god, just like hearing all that like through the dispatch. It's like,
Yeah. Shoot it! Shoot it! What the fuck is it? Shoot it!
oh god. Oh. You know, like
It's
we're
reminding me of
laughing.
the freaking South Park episode where they go into imagination land, and he's like, "What's happening, Kurt Russell? They're raping me. They're raping all of us." The Christmas critters.
Yeah, the Christmas. Honestly, like we're laughing at this and stuff, but legitimately, like I love this kind of scenario for like a horror story or something like that,
Yeah.
because it's like that kind of like there's a disconnect, but it's also like an out of context, like what the fuck.
Yeah.
Like I recall
It is extremely fucked up. We're laughing because otherwise we would cry.
well, no, because otherwise it'd be horrifying. Yeah.
Mhm.
But like anybody out there who wants to kind of hear something like this, like, or somebody like bring this up similarly, go to Roleplay Public Radio, the podcast, and look up the Preemptive Revenge episode. Because I think about in the first 30 minutes of that session of a Call of Cthulhu game, they get they're playing it on Halloween, and there's a trick or treaters like interrupting the game from occasionally. And Caleb, who's running the game, is like, you know, I just kind of want to run a game one day where it's just like, it starts off like the investigators are hearing like this like podcast or this like audio recording, or like we should just do this for the show at some point. It's like, oh, so we're playing the game and like, ding dong. Oh, hang on, what's that? Oh my god! And just like just record a game where like they get like something happens and it's all recorded.
Yeah,
and
they
then
still
like
put it up.
yeah, and then he was like, and then like 30 minutes or so later, like the recording picks up again. It's like with the police showing, it's like police say, "Oh fuck, stop puking, you newbie. We gotta deal with this bullshit."
Wow,
like
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've ever since I heard about that, like that was like a good like almost like a decade ago, like I think a half decade ago that episode came out, that session came out. But ever since then, I've wanted to like have something like a dispatch like horror story or horror scenario, like where like that is the situation.
You almost said horror scenario.
I did. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I've been fucking
Anyway.
up words all day.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry to
That's
cut
fine.
into your notes.
No, that's good. And okay, next part, we kind of talked about this because like when it got weird with the tongue and everything.
Yeah.
Like I knew he had to survive because, you know, it's a first person perspective sort of thing. But
They don't always have to survive with first person perspective.
Yeah, I guess they could die at the end. You're right. But yeah, as you were saying before, I did not expect it to go this way at all.
Nope.
Nope. But trying to think about what happened, the first thing I assumed, and I didn't come to any other further assumptions, is his tongue went down his throat into his stomach to literally eat what was in his stomach, eat the food in his stomach. Like he was hungry, so he's eating the food that Nair ate.
Oh my god, what? That's so fucked up.
Yeah, so he's like lapping it up
because he can't eat because he doesn't have teeth.
Yeah, that's why I thought that's what happened.
Because he's he was an old bearded man. He doesn't have oh my god, it's an old werewolf that this is the only way he's able to like feed anymore.
Yeah.
That is so fucked up.
I know.
Oh, Icydice.
I did it. I got the most fucked up one.
I feel like watch like Icydice is like listening to us and just like, there, you fucking finally nailed it, bud.
Took you all recording.
Oh shit, that is so. And then like it, as a result, because he's still feeding technically on the person but not killing them, that's why they're also now a werewolf.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say there's no conclusive evidence that they are now a werewolf.
Silver eyes, sir.
His eyes might still be like that because he's under the glamour, or not the glamour, the trance.
Maybe I think it's because he's he's now
Probably.
infected with the same like werewolf juice as.
I think what happened is basically both. Like, he was actually eating the stuff in his stomach. Because it specifically says stomach too.
Yeah, and then
And,
but it also says that there's this black fluid also
I was-
coming through it.
I was about to say that.
Right.
It also brings up the black goo, and it brings like focus to it.
Yeah.
And then the silver eye. So it's probably, yes, he ate it out of his stomach, but he also made another one as a byproduct.
Yeah, I think we've possibly figured out the actual like what the author was trying to get across with this. Maybe.
Yeah, because like if he wanted to just kill him and eat him, he could have done it. He's strong enough to rip his limbs into small enough pieces that he could swallow those pieces whole without needing teeth to chew them. Like, he could do that. But
Yeah, it's so
I
much
don't
more
know,
fucked up that he did the way he did.
it's more fucked up and also nicer because he didn't kill him. Like, he's not just a dangerous, I'm gonna kill everybody, rip and tear.
That
kind
is subjective. Like, getting tongue raped is not fun.
I know, but he ain't dead.
Yeah, but there are some things worse than death.
Yeah, like becoming one of these weird things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucked up though, regardless.
Mhm.
And I suppose that's about it for my notes.
Okay. Then I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So this story was crazy. Like, I did not know where it would go as I was reading it. All I could do was keep reading, and like I did so voraciously. Like, I think I gobbled the story up, figuratively.
Gobble up like you would gobble up the contents of someone's stomach.
I wasn't gonna go that way, but yeah, sure. Like I think I got it like done in a pretty quick sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I took some notes, but like mostly I was just reading, and I think I had to go back and like add in notes and stuff. Like I just wanted to know where it was gonna go. It's a very interesting take on a werewolf. Like, it seems to be taking ideas from other supernatural creatures and combining it into the werewolf, unless I'm just wholly ignorant of certain traits from other werewolf lore that I'm not familiar with. And by doing this, it does give it gives us something familiar in the horror genre, but with a new coat of paint. And for me, I was really digging that. And also, like, you bring up like that some of the revelation that like, because it's an old werewolf, lapping up the contents of the victim's stomach is the only way it can gain nourishment. That is so fucked up and cool as like like for being like an old man werewolf.
Yeah, maybe he's not really strong enough to rip them to pieces anymore.
That's what I was
because he's
also
old.
yeah. When you were
He
saying that,
punched
it's like
them
when
good,
he's just
but-
like this like scrawny old man. Like I don't think it actually does it bring up that like he's like gained any muscle mass, or does
It said that his chest got huge.
Yeah, that's true. He did get huge, but I mean, maybe in terms of like a werewolf, like maybe he still can't like rip a man in half necessarily.
Yeah.
You can just pin him down and then like do what he does. Yeah, it was a really cool story, very interesting, unique take on a werewolf. I might legitimately use this as inspiration for a Secret World Legends or a Secret World tabletop RPG scenario whenever that game becomes available. Because it does kind of seem to fit in line with like the filth and like I could play with that and the werewolf stuff. But yeah, that's why I'm going to continue to recommend the story. It was there. Obviously, there's some issues, like there's some discrepancies, but like they can be easily fixed with a round of editing. It's not enough for me to like not want to recommend the story.
Remind me when I make a character for that game to specify that I wear like a metal mask.
Okay. Well, then they're going up your sphincter.
Okay, great.
Every orifice is vulnerable, sir.
I can't win, can I?
No. Welcome to a horror game.
Yeah.
The only winning move is not to play.
Well, don't say that, because then I could just not join your game.
Oh, and they'll be sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, yeah, I'm going to recommend the story. So, Mikey, these Sense for Evil.
Yeah. So, yeah, this story sort of makes you wonder what's going on from the get-go. Like, he gets up, he goes onto the forest, then goes back to his house. Then the old man shows up. It's like, well, why wasn't the old man toned sooner? Because that was part of the reason why he left the house.
It is peculiar that like because he heard the noise as if like footfalls by his house and like nails dragging across the wall, and then the creature is suddenly in the woods, like a ways away. Like maybe it was luring him out into the woods, but then like didn't take his chance. It didn't take his shot in the woods.
You had to like break him down enough mentally
Oh,
to be able to have the mind game stuff, telepathy stuff work.
there's that. However, I think the other excuse or like the other explanation, the moon wasn't out. Remember, it was raining.
Ah, yeah, that's possible.
It wasn't until the full moon, until like the guy was out on the lawn, like back, like coming out of the woods again, that the full moon rose, like the clouds passed, I guess, and the full moon rose, and then he started getting his powers again.
Yep. So he was just biding his time.
Yeah.
Stalking his target, hunting him.
So he was probably, so he was probably stalking around the house, and then the clouds came in and the storm happened, and so that's why he was shrieking and like ran off into the woods, because he'd become the old man again, and then the clouds came back, or like the clouds left, and suddenly the moon was there, and now that's when he got his powers again. Yeah, so it's all coming together.
Yep. So the main issue that I had with this was like the not mentioning that he's dressed. So he's just walking out without boots until it's suddenly mentioned he has boots.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that called Chekhov's boots?
Chekhov's gun.
Different. I know that, but I'm making it relevant to this.
Okay, yeah. Chekhov's boots.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that what that is? Is like the item is there when you need it because it's there now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess we have a name for the protagonist now.
Chekhov.
Yeah, and then I really wanted this to be just a crazy old man.
It would have been cool, yeah.
Because I really personally did not care for the intense werewolf makeout session.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's
but that being said, there's enough sort of originality here, as Cultist pointed out, that he has weird abilities that werewolves don't normally have, and such like that. So I'm still going to recommend this.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, and then on to Gamer.
Mm-hmm. So as weird as the quote-unquote turning point in the story is, I'll say this: it's creepy and unsettling, more so than any gore porn option could have ever been.
Yeah.
Like if he just murdered him and ripped him to pieces and started describing in detail all the
how he was
viscera and
dying.
gore, it's like, oh, this again, cool. But
it's visceral in a wholly different way.
Yeah. Like as strange as it is, it's a far different take on lycanthropes in general, and I give it props for trying something new, because 99% of werewolves out there are just rip and tear until it's done.
Yeah, again, it's why in the mythos structure of modern monsters, like the werewolf represents like violent aggression and acts against people. So,
but you know what? Werewolves grow old sometimes, and they have to change their lifestyle accordingly.
Yeah.
This is
they gotta get softer food, softer processed food.
Exactly. Oh. That's what the stomach is there for. It's to process food.
Oh my god.
For him to process later.
Like I'm legitimately getting chill, like a shiver down my spine of how gross that keeps like going through my head.
Yeah. Pretty gross. It's like the baby bird, mother bird situation with like
Or I'm thinking there's a scene from this like comedy parody movie Mafia, where like there's an old man, like really old man and like burnt up, and actually I don't think he's an old man. I think he's just like a burn victim. And like he can't chew his own food, so the nurse that is like watching him and like helping him with in his wheelchair and stuff, like takes like an orange, like a slice of orange, chews it up in her own mouth, and then hands it the chewed up version to like the man to like slurp up.
Gross.
And the scene ends with like, because they're at like a funeral, and like the priest who's like giving like the sermon, so that he's like as the guy's like slurping, everybody around him's getting grossed out, and then the priest is like, and just throws up. It's just a hose, and then like other people start throwing up, all because of the gross way this guy.
Yeah, vomiting is contagious, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And just as soon as like you hear the slurp, because you hear like the slurping sound, it gets a close up of the guy's like face as he's like slurping up the orange slice. It's like, oh, it's so gross.
But also not the story.
But like the same kind of visceral, like it's the same kind of visceralness for this, like how this thing is getting into the person's stomach, if that is indeed how he's getting his nourishment and how he's like feeding. So,
but man, it's weird.
Yeah,
but in a good way. Like when I first read this, I was like, I don't want to continue reading this right now. This is really gross. But then I started thinking, this is really unique.
Yeah,
and creeping me out. It is a creepypasta that is instilling fear and creep onto its reader, which is supposed to be the point of a creepypasta. It's supposed to be scary in one way or another.
Yeah,
and this is definitely a way to do it.
It's a very creative way to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So all in all, I still wholly recommend it. Of course, it has some typos and some lack of descriptions of when people get dressed or if they sleep in their boots. I don't know, but that's all water under the bridge because what's there is good.
Or rain on the face and the back.
Yeah, both places. I'm assuming that's just like
strangely enough.
Everywhere.
I'm also just straight.
And the back.
I'm also just like, it's weird that like it was on the face and the back and not the face and the front. Like,
yeah, like it's specifically the face, not the front of the body.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be like the wind was blowing everywhere, so it was getting wet everywhere, like the front and the back view.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
But yeah, ultimately, we're giving it all. I think we're all giving it a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Just with
like
maybe some
recommendation.
Yeah, roundhouse recommendation
to the face or to the stomach, maybe.
Yeah, or to the back
and the front.
To the face and roundhouse roundhouse recommendation to the face and back. But that has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, if it's comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter, so you can send us messages there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end, because the name is very long.
Yeah, it's a requirement now.
Yeah, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely, because you're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, eternally, thank you. We very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship and dank memes of our show, unrelated,
yes,
we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.